Okay, that was a little rough. Let's try it again. So I thought I'd kick things off with a quick tour of our home for the next couple of months here in the Philippines. We'll start with the least interesting part, which is the restroom. Something that we noticed when looking at different Airbnbs is all of the restrooms here are very, very tiny and cramped, but we are lucky to have hot water here. That is actually a luxury. And then we're also lucky because we actually have a washer dryer, and I say dryer in quotations because really all it does is whip your clothes around and make them super wrinkly, and so we're pretty much just hang drying our clothes now. It doesn't work really well, but we get to wash our clothes without going to a laundromat, which is pretty cool. So then we have the kitchen that we're probably not going to use because it's so inexpensive to eat out, and I've already gotten in that bad habit after only being here for 3 weeks. So moving on, water. By the way, you can't drink the water, so this is life right here. We go through about one of these every 3 to 4 days. You know, I drink a lot of water. So then we have the living room area, which looks cramped because there's a futon and a sofa. When we saw the original pictures, there was only the futon, but I think they thought they were doing something cool by giving us a sofa, but it's just a little cramped for what we're used to. I will get to the desk area last because obviously that's the best part of this whole thing. And then we have the bedroom. So this is technically a studio because the only windows are here and here for the entire unit, and then this wall that you're looking at actually doesn't go all the way to the ceiling, but it is nice to have a full bed because the entire time we lived in Seattle it was always futons and sofa beds, so it's kind of nice to have an actual full bed. And let's go ahead and wrap things up with the best part of the unit, which is of course the setup, where the plan was to spend 50 to 70% of my time here. I'll get to why I can't or haven't been able to do that in a second. So I'm actually set up using a Chromebox and then these two mobile screens from Asus. And these are actually iPad. Nobody uses iPods anymore. And these are actually iPad stands that I'm using to hold them up. And that's just so I'm not hunched over all day. Unfortunately though, as much as I have enjoyed this setup, I haven't actually been able to use it here. And that is because of this picture. And you're probably wondering what the heck this is supposed to be. And this is supposed to be a speed test, specifically a internet speed test of the internet here. And it is so slow that I can't get the speed test to work on my laptop, and it just keeps going in and out. So long story short, we found out that essentially our unit or side of the building is literally in a dead zone. So I can walk to the elevators and start to get cell service. So all of the pocket Wi-Fi and prepaid home Wi-Fi solutions we've tried here haven't worked just because there's no signals that reach up here. And for whatever strange reason, the owner of the unit, whatever service provider they are working with, charges them the equivalent of $85 US for 32 MIPS, which from what we've understood from other people we've talked to is absolutely insane for that price. So that is probably the only reason we're going to be looking for another place to go once our short time is up here, as opposed to extending it like we had originally planned. But don't worry, because there is in fact internet here. So I did a speed test at my in-laws place, and as you can see, it's just under 40 MIPS upload and 25 download. So plenty of speed for doing pretty much everything I need to do, which is why I keep going over there to do my work, because there's just no internet in here. And the other cool thing about this place though is there's a full lap pool, and if you've been watching this vlog for any length of time, you know I really like swimming, even though I haven't been able to go swimming, and that will tie into why there's such a gap in between the two shots here. And then number two, they are actually opening a bunch of stores downstairs, so I can go back to my entrepreneurial hermit lifestyle where everything is within a 1 mile radius, so I can just quickly walk to it and then go back to work or go back to making videos. So it's really cool that there's a bubble tea place, there's a mini mart, they can bring up your water, so 9 gallons of water. Alkaline water is essentially $2 a week is essentially what we're paying for a week's worth of water, which again is actually pricey, but hey, $2 for like $10 of alkaline water, I think is pretty good by US standards. And then there's also a place where you can essentially buy a fully cooked chicken, hence not really needing to cook in the kitchen. So that does it for this vlog and kind of the big update on moving to the Philippines. I'm definitely going to be doing a lot more in terms of sharing what this place is like, but the reason that there's so little is because I've actually been sick for about 80% of the time that I've been here. You can probably tell I'm a little nasal right now, and after the first week of getting over jet lag, I immediately got sick. I had a fever for a week. I had 3 days of rest, and then I went back to having a cough and cold. So it's just been an absolute mess. This place is awesome, and hopefully I can now finally enjoy it that I'm not sick. So with that, what I wanted to do is actually completely switch gears and share with you some actual business stuff, because during that 3-day period where I actually had a little break of not being sick, I was working on our pricing model for our new product that's coming out. And essentially what I want to do is take all of the random vlog stuff I share and put it into a nice, concise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 system that anyone can easily follow. And while I was going through my notes, I was coming up with our different pricing tiers here. You can see there's a lot going on here. I was jotting things down on the plane, and I don't know what it is about being on a plane. Something sparks, and I get a lot more ideas when I'm up there. It's probably just because you're cramped, you're sitting there like, I don't know what else to do, let's come up with some ideas. And I'll get to a podcast that's going to be really helpful in a second. But essentially I was going through, we were having different pricing tiers based upon what people wanted to accomplish. And I looked at this, and I looked at it, and I just went, you know what? We're not going to do that. That's not our customer. And it's so easy to get sucked into opportunities and looking at, oh, I can make this product, or I can make that product, or I can help this person, or I can do this. And I literally just crossed out an hour's worth of work where I went, you know what, that's just not our customer. I think it's a great product idea. I think it'd be a good tier. So we actually went down from 4 pricing tiers down to 3, because we're just not going to do any of the super basic how to build your business online stuff, because that's just not who our customer is. I've learned the hard way that making that type of content attracts too many of those people who just want to make money online without actually building a business or doing any real work. It's too many of those entrepreneurs, right? And something that I wanted to suggest to you is this podcast. It's by Mike Dillard on a Self-Made Man podcast, and he brought on the head of Agora Financial to talk about how they put together their marketing funnels. I typically don't share podcast episodes, but this one really, really is valuable, especially when he goes through his pricing and he talks about the chargebacks and the changes Visa is going to be making to how you can actually charge your customers reoccurring. And so it's very, very important. Agora Financial does $500 million a year in digital sales. They're literally the largest digital publisher pretty much that I know of, and they are really one of the best companies to learn from when it comes to selling anything online. So I highly recommend that. I'll link it up in the description below. And I know that this vlog is just me sitting here, and I've probably gone way over time, but if you're still with me, I wanted to share something additional that I didn't share previously in my customer avatar profile that I think is going to be very helpful. So let's go ahead and dive into my screen here. And I wanted to show you this because this is something that's really important, because and I'll link up in the description to this video, the ideal customer avatar profile data-driven method, because that's going to go through this first part. And if you're wondering if I ever use YouTube videos to train people on our team, I do. So it's not like I hold anything back. I literally will just send my YouTube videos to new people on the team and say, this is what I need done. And then they watch the video and they go do it. There's really nothing being held back here. And so in a previous vlog, I talked about going through and thinking about what their desired results are and what the roadblocks are of your ideal customer. Let's go ahead and try me in an hour. And then their emotional drivers being, why do they want to achieve those results? And then the fears of what do they think is going to happen if they're not successful in what they're trying to accomplish. So I'll link up in the description to the blog that actually goes through all of that, because that's another 20 minutes. But what I wanted to do is scroll down here to the avatar story and the ideal customer matrix that I've been working on. And so this is something that's actually new. So the first part is a customer avatar story. And this is where, after you've gone through all that data, after you've looked at their roadblocks and what they want to achieve, why they want to achieve it, looking at some of their deep fears and emotions, then it's time to actually create a story where you sit down and you pretend to be the ideal customer, and you're just having coffee or something. You pretend you're the ideal customer, describing your situation to you, right? So you write this in the first person. And something else that you can do, and I know this isn't going to be reasonable when you're just starting. It was 3 years before I was able to do this. But what you want to do is actually try and take actual feedback. So actually go through your YouTube comments, your blog comments, or go through the different emails you've received over the past months or years and start pulling out pieces that represent, oh, this is a problem someone was describing, or this is a roadblock someone was describing. And then go ahead and write an actual story out. So this is a little preview here, and you can see it's very basic. I've been working on my business seriously for 1 year, purchased multiple courses and books. But to be honest, I've spent the past 3 years all over the place. I still don't know where to focus or where to go from here. And of course, it goes on and on and on. And this is actually a direct quote from an email I received. So it's not like I'm making this up now. And of course, the first time you go through this, you're going to make up the story, but you're actually going to be able to start putting in real world people into your story. So real world quotes into your story from your comments, from the emails that you receive, and you're going to get a very full picture. And I can tell you from personal experience, like, this is extremely powerful. I can't tell you how much better I've become with sales calls because we've actually paid attention to how people talk. And no joke, you'll start seeing actual phrases that people say over and over and over again. There is a phrase that I've actually been able to identify. I'm not going to share it, obviously, because this is part of our proprietary sales process now. But that phrase, when we use it, like, dramatically increases our close rate, because for whatever reason, that's just the way our ideal customer thinks. And if they don't respond well to that, we know they're actually not a good ideal customer. It's really weird, but it's taken me 3 years of sales calls to figure out that particular phrase. It's not like a magic bullet or anything, but it's just a way that you can relate to your ideal customer. And then taking all of this and then distilling it down and answering these 4 questions here. What is their primary need, their primary frustration, short-term impulse, and then irrational, deep-seated desire? And so I'll go through the last 2, because the last 2 are really going to help you with whatever your sales copywriting is. So short-term impulse. And this is where you identify, where is someone temporarily insane? Like, what is something that is happening to them right now that they really need solved, that is just driving them nuts? And it might not even be the most important thing. It could just be something that's really, really annoying to them, or really, really a roadblock that might be small in the grand context of whatever they're trying to achieve. But right now, it just seems like the biggest thing in the world, and it just needs to go away. And so for me, in this particular channel, I'll just go through attention, and that is their channel's growing slowly, or their blog isn't getting enough traffic or engagement. As someone who's putting a bunch of time and energy into creating content and then not seeing the results, I know that drove me nuts in the beginning, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I know that drives a lot of other people nuts. So knowing that, this is actually going to drive how we put together our landing pages and our sales pages, the types of lead magnets we create for this ideal customer profile. Obviously, you need to have more than one for each one of your funnels or products. And then finally, I know this has been a long one, the deep-seated irrational desire. And this is where you look at and go, okay, in an ideal scenario, what do they really, really want, even if it's just completely outlandish. Like in losing weight, what does someone who's overweight, or what does someone who wants to be super ripped really want? Well, they just want it today. They just want it today. Like, even though it's physically impossible, well, maybe not. Maybe you could do plastic surgery or something, but it's physically impossible to just lose 20 pounds in a day, or 20 pounds in a week. But maybe that's what the irrational fear, or irrational desire is. And once you know that irrational desire, obviously you can't serve it because it's irrational. It's not actually possible. But you can use that information in your sales copywriting and figuring out, okay, this is way in left field. Like, there's no way we could do this. But what happens if we back it up a little bit and say, okay, maybe we can give them this, even though we can't give them this giant irrational fear. And so emotions and figuring out what's really driving your ideal customers is so important. And so that's why we're doing this longer vlog where I'm just sitting here talking about this, because I realized in the last vlog that I did, I failed to really harp on how important it was, the emotional side of things. And so I thought I'd add our customer matrix as well as the next step in creating your ideal customer avatar. So thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you got some value out of this video, and I'm very excited to be sharing whatever comes next on this wild ride of attempting to be a digital nomad, hopefully once I am no longer sick. So until the next, keep building the business you love.